any disruptions can sometimes lead to rates going up. All these ports are not going to be able to service all these imports that are coming into the country, and they're going to have to find other ways of getting into the country.
Welcome to This Week in Trucking, the podcast that tells you what you need to know about the trucking market for the week. I'm Caroline, and today we're talking about diesel prices, where you can find the hottest freight markets in the country. We're also going to talk about the big strike that's happening right now in the ports. If you want to stay up to date with the trucking market and diesel prices and everything else that we talk about on our channel, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so that you never miss any of our updates. Hey, Gurvir, if you had to guess what the number one most profitable drive-in market is right now, what would you say? And don't look at Spotter. You have to just guess.
Indianapolis or Indiana?
Okay, close. Indianapolis is actually number 22, but you are warm because it's actually in Saginaw, Michigan, which is where I grew up. So
Awesome.
shout out to Saginaw, Michigan. Saginaw, Michigan is the top most profitable, and we're going to share and show everybody where the hottest markets are. So we've got Saginaw at the very top, then San Diego. I thought you were going to guess somewhere in California because that's always a good guess.
Yeah, I was about to say like Duluth or Minnesota or something, but I know that's hot too. But Saginaw, Michigan, huh?
And there are some markets around like Illinois, Indiana that are up on this list too. So Quincy, Illinois, Evansville, Indiana. So that's right by Indiana. That's one of the markets in Indiana, close to Indianapolis. Those are up in the top 10. Got Duluth is number 3. And then you always have LA and Ontario, California. Those are always really good drive-in markets. You've also got Las Vegas, Nevada, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and Evansville, Indiana, like I already said, and Fargo, North Dakota. So those are the top 10. If you go to Reefer Markets, scattered all throughout northern Midwest and West region. So we've got Fargo, North Dakota, Rapid City, South Dakotas. The Dakotas are really good right now. Nebraska is looking good. Sioux Falls, South Dakota as well. St. Cloud, Minneapolis, Twin Falls, Idaho, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Duluth, Green Bay, Wisconsin, up here in Green Bay, and Bismarck, North Dakota. Dakotas are looking really good for reefer. I wonder what the Dakotas are consuming this week that they need so many reefer trucks out there.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I should know this, but I'm not sure. Why is Dakota getting hot?
If you haul reefer loads to or from the Dakotas, let us know. Flatbed, top market is Evansville, Indiana. Indiana is actually a really good market for flatbeds. Got three of the top 10 markets in Indiana there. Nashville, Tennessee, North Charleston, South Carolina, Memphis, Tennessee, Huntington, West Virginia, Louisville, Kentucky, Bloomington, Illinois, and Bowling Green, Kentucky. It's really centered around that sort of southern Midwest area. And then you've got some good markets also in the southern states, Mississippi and Louisiana. So that's what we're looking at like for the top markets. This is based on the Spotter Index. Shout out to them, spotter.ia. If you want real-time updates on the profitability of different markets of the top 3 equipment types, check them out. They have really good information. Let's move on and look at some updates to diesel prices in the country. So this week on Monday, our price was actually for the total US was slightly higher, but only about half a cent higher on the whole for the US. And prices actually dropped in East Coast, West Coast, and California. Prices went up a little bit in the Midwest, Gulf Coast, and Rocky Mountain region, but those are still the most affordable places to buy diesel. And actually the Gulf Coast on-highway diesel fuel price is $3.21 or was $3.21 on Monday. So pretty great prices in that area and really across the board for diesel. This is always good news for our carriers out there who's 25% of your operational budget is fuel. So that's a big deal when diesel prices are maintained this low.
Yeah, no, I think one thing is that diesel is sticking around like 354, 352 around here. That's a good thing. I think one of the things that has done well is diesel prices coming down this year. I think there's absolutely no doubt. And hopefully when the spot market comes up, they stay down there, right? And that would give us, the truckers and everyone a good margin, right? Maybe let's dive into the freight market and see how we're doing, Caroline. How does that?
Yeah, tell me about it. How did September shape up and what should we expect in October?
September was not good. September was not a good month. People were expecting rate waves. A lot of people were, and even though there were some doubters that were saying, "Hey, look, are we going to start seeing spot rates start coming up?" But we have not. September was not a good month. I think on average the rates are down about 4 to 8% from July. The first week again of July was like a truly like a sneak peek. I thought the market was back, but guess what? We went up all the way to 6.5 rejection rate. That was really good. Again, 7 determines that it's a really healthy market. We got to 6.5 and then we dropped. I think right now we're probably hovering around 4, right? So we're back to where we were earlier this year, even last year, right? So the freight market is not doing good. We were expecting that things would start coming back up and rates would get better and rejection rate would go up, but September has not shown that. If we look at the DAT, September, we dropped about 2 cents on drive-in. So in August, we ended at 201. In July, we ended at 206. In September, we ended at 198. So you can imagine there's an 8-cent difference per mile from July to September. So we've just been coming down.
Yeah, we were not exactly excited about the spot markets in July and August.
Yeah, I looked at July. I was like, look, 206. Can we start going to 208 now? 210, 211, 212, and slowly start seeing these increment increases, but we did not. We kept on coming down. It goes to show there's still excess capacity in the trucking market. Now, there's a lot of unknowns, right? So what does October hold for us? There's Helen, the storm that came. There's a strike going out. Any disruptions can sometimes lead to rates going up. So that is something that we're going to watch. We'll talk about the ILA strike and what could that do to potentially to trucking. But I think holiday season is here as well. This is October, November, and December. We will see a better October, a better month than September. So yeah, hopefully October things start picking up. One last thing I would say is that a good thing is that today marks the lowest spread between contract and spot, which means that I think right now we're at 43 cents. That difference is at 43 cents, which means once we hit 30 cents, that's a healthy margin difference between a contract and a spot rate. That means we have returned to some normalcy in the market. I've been saying we're just getting closer and closer. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of things go up and down. We're seeing these fluctuations, but as time passes, we're only getting closer and closer to market normalcy. And the one indication that we're seeing today is that the spread between contract and spot is going down. Now, that doesn't mean the rates are going up because the contract rates are coming down also, and the spot rates are coming up just a little bit today. Like in the first few days of October, things are looking a little bit better. But let's see what that data shows. Again, month just started. We just have to wait at least the mid of October to see where are the rates this month. So yeah, those are some freight updates. I wish I had some better news, but I'm sure all the carriers are feeling it. On the factoring side, we saw rates go down about 8%, and hopefully October is a better month.
Definitely. Let's talk about the ILA port strike. So I'm going to give a little bit of a summary of what's going on here. This comes from an article on Overdrive. So on October 1st, which was yesterday as the recording of this video, so Tuesday, over 50,000 members of the International Longshoremen's Association, or ILA, went on strike across 36 facilities from Maine to Texas, affecting ports that handle over 40% of imports on the East and Gulf coasts. So this strike affects intermodal trucking as freight at ports is stalled. East Coast ports handle huge amounts of the volume of electronics and auto parts, produce, beer, and furniture that come into the U.S. The analysts and experts here are expecting pretty minimal short-term impacts on supply chains. They say that shippers had already anticipated this strike and had been already preparing. So they were already importing goods earlier in the year because they were anticipating strike. But that a prolonged strike, so if this thing lasts more than 2 or 3 weeks, then it could create opportunities for truckers as freight is diverted to Canadian ports. So obviously freight is all diverted to Canadian ports. It has to travel a longer distance on trucks, right, to get to where it needs to go. There was another expert at FTRC CEO that said the major importers, they had already priced in the strike and assumed that it would last 2 weeks. And so that could disrupt transport markets if it goes any longer than that. You've been in trucking for a while. The last time that a big strike happened at ports was a couple of years ago, I think on the West Coast. In general, what have you seen as the impact of something like this on a small carrier or owner-operator?
Yeah, the effects, I was trying to think about what kind of effects this would have. It's been some time since I've experienced the last strike. I think the last major strike was like a long time ago. I wasn't doing it, or I think it was 1977. But essentially, that's down all these ports are not going to be able to service all these imports that are coming into the country, and they're going to have to find other ways of getting into the country. That's just like the first response. And I'm sure some shippers and customers were anticipating this was going to happen. Like you said, what's going to come through Canada, what's going to come through Mexico and other ways, right? We already saw earlier this year, like a lot of Chinese manufacturers, because of tariffs, were pushing goods through Mexico. Look, supply chains and these things have gotten much more sophisticated, right? Because of COVID and especially because of COVID, companies have invested a lot in solving these challenges. I'm not sure. Is it really easy to reroute traffic through Mexico or Canada? And if that happens, you might see like not much of a impact on trucking itself, right? I don't think the short-term impact on trucking is much. I don't think it's net negative or net positive. But if you are a trucker at the port, obviously you're going to be dried up for work. So there's an impact there that's happened. So if you're running around ports and you're going inside of ports, and you're getting,
if you're doing drayage.
Exactly. Then obviously if you are in those ports, you will be affected, right? Essentially there's nothing is being handled. But long-term impact could be that, hey, if things starts getting rerouting, you could see spot rates go up as well, right? I think so. My gut feeling is I don't think we see much of a change in like over the road trucking, the drayage trucking and port trucking. Obviously there's going to be an impact there. And generally any like bottlenecks in trucking or in supply chain usually push the rates up. So my gut feeling is that the rates could go up as well in the next few months, especially if you have to truck these things in from Mexico or Canada or other ports, right? You're just going to see a shift of demand in the country, right? I think those are some things that could happen. But let's see. Let's see how long the strike lasts. I don't know. People are making bets on LinkedIn, whether it's over under 6 days or 7 days. Let's see. But each day it's costing $5 billion.
50,000 people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's probably need to have different demands and different ideas of what they want out of this. They did say that the U.S. Maritime Alliance has already agreed to one of their key demands, which is barring automation at ports. And they've offered a 50% pay increase. Though negotiations are still in the works.
Election year, you're seeing this a month before election. Let's see if President Biden intervenes in any way. I know he put out a statement that, these corporations need to do better and get fair wages to workers.
If they've already agreed to a 50% pay increase, I think, what were they paying before?
Yeah. All these companies made record profits during COVID, but a lot of that is gone as well. Again, these things get very tricky and complex really quickly. I know a lot of shipping companies made a shit ton of money, but I also know that the shipping rates also collapsed last year, right? They went from all-time highs to all-time lows. But the workers play a pivotal role as well, right? I think I saw one of the videos during COVID, ports are open. You need all these goods to be coming in, and people are still working during crazy times.
Lines.
Exactly. And let's see what happens, right? Hopefully there's a resolution soon. I know it's interesting, right? The economy is interesting. You will have to pay in some form, right? If there's a block or there's a disruptions in any way, I do think a lot of it times it ends up translating into consumer cost. Right? Everybody keeps on pushing their cost on to the next person, and the consumer is the person that's going to pay for it, right? So it does hurt the consumer at some point because everybody just pushes those costs over to the person to the right. But let's see what happens. Hopefully there's a resolution soon.
Speaking of how to pay your employees a fair wage, there was a great profile on VerkExpress, which is a trucking company out of California. And Overdrive did this great profile of them. We're going to reach out to them and see if they want to come on this show. So if you know them, let them know that we are looking for them and hoping that they will come on, and so that we can learn from what they've built. They have a 7-truck reefer fleet. It's based in Sacramento, California. And their main business strategy has been to pay fair wages and offer really amazing service and reliability to their customers. So Sunny Verk and Sam Singh, they're the founders of this company and the owners of this company. They used to be company drivers. They had some mixed experiences, it seems like, driving for private fleets. Sometimes they really liked the work and sometimes they really didn't, thought they were being treated really poorly. And one thing that he said that just resonated with me so much was, our rule is don't scam anyone out of money. Hell or high water, pay the drivers for what they're doing. And I just thought that was a really cool quote from Sunny Verk. And it really resonated with how we think about our business at Bobtail. That seems to me like that's our number one rule too, is don't scam anybody out of money. Do the service, charge something that's fair and transparent, and just give them a really good experience. And it sounds like that's how they've built their carrier business, which is really cool. They've grown organically by word of mouth. Drivers love working for them. They have drivers that earn anywhere from $70,000 to $120,000 annually. And so it's really cool to see a company building their business that way.
Yeah, it's cool to see. I noticed two things. One is obviously they love to invest in their employees, treat them really well, making sure their paychecks are there. And these are like basic things that any trucking company should really. But the market's been challenging. You do see the other side where trucking companies start struggling. But I think the two things very interesting. One thing is they really take care of their employees. Second thing is they have dedicated freight, which means they're not getting this load board crappy loads.
Right.
Having to renegotiate. They're based in Sacramento. I think they got dedicated lanes into Utah or Idaho. I think I read
Yeah, they said they have about 80% of
Yeah.
their lanes from Idaho and North California are dedicated lanes.
Yeah, basically their business is like on auto, right? Like you got dedicated freight and all you need at that point if you have dedicated freight is like really, really good drivers, just take care of your people and the business just does, right? It does well and it doesn't have to be 100 trucks. It doesn't have to be crazy amount of numbers, right? I think they're running just few trucks, maybe 10 to 20. I don't know the exact count, but
it's just 7, actually, 7 reefer trucks.
Yeah, and they're just running a really good, tight, profitable operation and just focusing on the right things. I'm sure their safety is under control, insurance is under control. They got dedicated freight. I'm sure they're working less. And it's a hard thing to do in trucking to be able to find dedicated. Once you do, you know that, hey, you've done something significant for your business. And you don't got to be chasing those load boards and negotiating on every single load and freight. And that's a good spot to be. And that's something that everybody should aspire to like graduate to. Like, how do you go from a load board onto a dedicated freight? And then you have a really stable business.
Yeah. And one thing that I noticed, a couple of things that I noticed that made me smile. One of them was that during the COVID-19 pandemic, they made a conscious effort not to do what a lot of trucking companies did, which was to raise the prices significantly on those dedicated lanes and for their customers. So they could have raised their prices a ton in that time because getting trucks was really expensive all over. So your alternative was going to be more expensive comparatively. So what they did, they decided we're not going to price gouge our customers, even though we could probably make a lot of money by doing that in these couple of months. We're not going to do that. We're going to give them a good deal, and because we want to stick with them in the long run. And that's the kind of really good, emotionally intelligent, level-headed type of decision to make in that moment. Whereas I think a lot of people fell for dollar signs in their eyes and really raised the prices and would only take freight for a really high amount. And they were just trying to ride the wave as high as they possibly could. Decided not to do that. And look at them. They're still in business in October 2024 doing really well.
Yeah. And that's because the shipper acknowledged this is a relationship-based industry, right? Like, I'm sure the shipper valued that, right? These guys stuck around. They didn't increase rates. They're not being like really predatory and just even though the market rates are much higher, they're sticking to their rates. And now the shipper is taking care of their partners and making sure that even though rates are considerably low, they pay them fair rates so they can continue to run their operation. It's a two-way relationship, right? That's really awesome to see. And that's a lesson, right? If you get good rates during the boom and you have a direct and dedicated customer, keep them happy. Make sure the service is on point. Make sure you're fair on the rates. Don't go with the swings, right? If you build a long-term business and a steady business, know that your customer will take care of you when spot rates also go down, right? So I think that's a big learning, that if you ever get a dedicated freight, make sure that you're fair on pricing and you're able to take care of your customer because they will take care of you when things go down.
Yeah, 100%. Then the last thing that I thought just was really nice, they said that they often, these two business owners who are business partners said that their decisions often involve heated debates, but they always align on what's best for the company and the drivers. And that just reminded me a lot of the C-suite at Bobtail, that sometimes there's some heated debates on all of our meetings of whoever's working for Bobtail. And at the end of the day, the question to answer, is this better for our customers? Is this better for our employee? What's the best way to go about here? And just prioritizing that.
Now, heated debates are good, but as long as you think of us, you're on one team and the goal is always singular to achieve something great and accomplish the goal together. That's how I learn a lot. I think you don't usually hear like opposite perspectives, and sometimes we all learn from each other with that. But people are passionate, and that's good, right? If people are passionate about problems, and they feel passionate about their viewpoints. But yeah, definitely those kind of things are very important in pushing the business further because you don't have all the right answers all the time by yourself.
To wrap up, I know that you mentioned the tropical storm that's coming in. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
What the impact will be?
Yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit in terms of the tropical storm Helen. Generally, hurricanes and storms lead to higher spot rates because of the capacity that just gets removed out of certain areas. I believe the hardest hit areas right now are like North Carolina and really hard hit. And that capacity evaporates. And you're going to see a lot of rates go up around Virginia. And I think that's an direct impact on trucking. But hopefully those families and everybody that's affected is safe, right? That's foremost the most important thing. These storms are obviously this year, we talked about this on the podcast, that the hurricane season is going to be pretty bad. I think there's another one that's on its way as well. We saw but this is the worst hurricane season that we have seen, even though it makes trucking better, like in terms of rates and stuff. But you don't understand there's other side to this, which is like families and deaths and casualties and all that stuff, which is prayers out to everybody that is being affected. I know Asheville was hit really hard, but in terms of trucking, we are going to see that rates will go up in those affected areas. And obviously with the destruction and everything, you're going to see some level of activity with housing and stuff take in those areas as well. But there's a lot of unknowns and things that are happening right now with the strike, with Helen, and there's another hurricane coming. Let's see what happens with the trucking market. And that's the objective of the podcast. Like, how can we get more information and try to see here what's going to happen to trucking market in the next 2 to 3 months. And a holiday season is here, October, November, December. October is going to be better than September. I feel good about October. Let's see if it's significantly better or not. But November and December obviously are going to be good months because of the holiday season. The more activity you're going to see is in November. But yeah, we'll keep watching on the hurricanes as well and see what kind of reporting we can get in terms of what is next.
Yeah, and we're coming up on some of the busiest months in trucking and sometimes the most stressful part of the year. So just make sure as a business owner, as a driver, that you're taking care of yourself, that you're prioritizing your own safety, your own health, and your own peace of mind. And we hope that this podcast gives you a little bit more information of how to make decisions better so that you can maybe relax a little bit and not relieve some of that stress that business owners feel, especially around this time of year.
Yeah. One last thing I would say is this holiday season, UPS, FedEx, a lot of them are going to have contract freight for 1.5 months or 45 days. Take advantage. If you know which brokers have those runs, whether it's FedEx or through Coyote or UPS, it'll be good to get like a 45-day dedicated freight run and make good money before the year ends. So if you know you have contacts, I know we're helping some of our clients get those contracts for about 45 days. It's something as the year comes to an end, especially our dependable carriers. So look out for that. So if you have any contacts or know people that are in that space, definitely try to take advantage of that. Other than that, have a good week. We'll keep on coming with more episodes. Give us feedback on how we can improve and what are some new topics that we can discuss.
We did get a comment from Lionel Sanders, 8404, who asked us for another video with Victor from Big Vic TV. So hopefully we'll be able to get him back on to keep talking box truck business, everything to do with box trucks.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great week and drive safe and be safe out there.